Okay, so next we will look at the blood supply to the brain, the arterial system. So this here is the inferior view, so this is the view of the brain from the bottom. So this is the side view, we're looking at it from the bottom. We see here, these are the temporal lobes, the frontal lobes, and those are the cerebellum, here and here. And in this area is the pons, and there's the medulla, and then from here down, spinal cord. There's two really major arteries that give rise to all of these arteries. One of them is the vertebral arteries, here and here. So these guys are coming from the branches of major arteries coming off of the heart, of the aorta of the heart. The vertebral arteries come together to form a single artery called the basilar artery. The basilar is here. The basilar artery begins at about where the pons starts, and it spans the length of the pons. Along the way, there is a branch of arteries here called the inferior cerebellar arteries. The branch over here from the basilar artery is called the superior cerebellar artery. So you have the inferior and superior cerebellar arteries. You will also have the inferior cerebellar artery actually has two. This anterior and posterior inferior cerebellar arteries. And superior cerebellar artery just has one, superior cerebellar artery. From the vertebral arteries here and here come two branches that join together to form the spinal artery. And depends which side of the spinal cord you're looking at. If this was the spinal cord, this is the anterior side. So these are the anterior spinal arteries. We will see this artery in the next paper. Here is the internal carotid arteries. The internal carotids, so they will be coming in this way. So the way my pen is, imagine that's the internal carotid. It comes like that. Okay, but it's been cut, so you just see two openings, here and here. Those are the internal carotids. They come up like this. The internal carotids found at the junction where you have the middle cerebral artery, not cerebellar but cerebral. For cerebrum, that was cerebellum. Superior, anterior, superior cerebellar, anterior and posterior inferior cerebellar, middle cerebral. Okay, goes this way and this way. Then you have the anterior cerebral, here and here. Between the anterior cerebral arteries is the anterior communicating artery, that little portion there. The portion that connects the basilar artery to the internal carotid artery is the posterior communicating arteries. From this region also comes the posterior cerebral arteries. So these are the superior cerebellar, these are the posterior cerebral, middle cerebral, anterior cerebral. The circle here formed by the anterior cerebral, anterior communicating, posterior communicating, and basilar here, and the posterior cerebral, this whole circular area here, is called the circle of Willis. Okay, here right in between you can see there's the infundibulum and there's the mammillary bodies. So here and here, these are the spinal cord. So you can see there is the terminal phylum, there is the lumbar expansion, the conus medullaris, cervical expansion. Okay, this is the anterior view, looking at it from the front. This is the posterior view, from the back. So you can see one clear feature of the posterior view is this triangular shaped structure here. That's the fourth ventricle. The cerebellum is here, but it's removed, leaving an open fourth ventricle. So that there would be the middle cerebellar peduncles.